And welcome back. This is the Jose Soto Show. You're listening to Jose Soto. It is August 12, 2012. A beautiful Sunday afternoon here from Phoenix, Arizona. Where else can I be but in this beautiful place as Phoenix, Arizona, where it's sweltering hot, 115 degrees. So here's the news. And I was about to talk about this yesterday, but I didn't really care. I did care for a bit, but I just wanted to sort of think about this through and put this into perspective. The fact that Mitt Romney decided on Paul Ryan has a lot to do with trying to make himself look like this ultra-conservative, hate the government kind of guy. And believe me, these people don't hate the government. They don't want to shrink the government. They want the government to work for them. You see, Mitt Romney is a monetarist. He's a money whore. He's not really a capitalist. By all means, people are saying, well, Mitt Romney, he has all this experience in private sector. Doing what? Being a money whore? Making bets on other people's money and making bets against companies, and he's a asset stripper? That is what constitutes you being a good leader for this nation? Please, give me a fucking break. Alright? I'm not a fucking idiot. I know when a good person is a good leader to be president of the United States, and we haven't had one for a long, long time. Kennedy tried, he was killed. FDR made a lot of improvements. And I'm not saying, all what he did was great and dandy. But it must have worked. Somehow he pulled it off. And that's why FDR was elected 4 times. That was before we had term limits, obviously, for the presidency. So people, all these reactionaries, gay or otherwise, or saying you cannot have New Deal programs, they're bullshitting you. This country has been rebuilt with New Deal programs, Social Security, Medicare, infrastructure programs, all this stuff that has basically made us into a civilization. Now you can point, I know many of you libertarians, I'm a libertarian to a certain extent. I do believe that a civilized society has to have safety nets and has to have a government that is working. Basically, you need order, civilization, and progress to become a nation that can succeed. We need to embrace technology, science, so we can advance ourselves and, of course, start producing. We need to start manufacturing. We need to start industry again. We need to revamp that. But not only that, to produce new technologies to cure certain illnesses. But of course, Big Pharma doesn't want that. But many libertarians are not going to support that. They support regression, a destruction of civilization, the destruction of the American system. That is what they are for, unfortunately. Even though I agree with Libertarian Party principles of not supporting the drug war anymore, freedom, personal and individual liberty, but you also have to have a society that's able to sustain that kind of lifestyle. And you cannot have somebody like Paul Ryan who says that Medicare should be gutted that we should take away people's food stamps, take away their unemployment insurance, basically strip you of all economic rights, of economic opportunities. While Paul Ryan et al., what they want is for the majority of this country to be impoverished. He's a Catholic. That's another point right there. The Catholic Church strives on worshiping poverty. Even though they say we have to end poverty, they have tried to do that for the last few hundred years. It's never happened because they worship poverty. They dwell in poverty, illness, destruction, pestilence, because that's what it is. That's what the Catholic Church is about. If you go to any Catholic country in the world, they're impoverished. Impoverished as hell. Look at Central America, look at South America, very Catholic countries, and they're all in the shitter. And you're telling me, oh, well, the Catholic Church really cares. If the Catholic Church really cared, they would have pushed those governments to do what is right, but they don't. Because they're in the pockets of these politicos and, of course, of the controllers who are also manipulating the markets in these areas. So we have Paul Ryan, who's a big tea bagger. Now, believe me, I used to have a lot of respect for the Tea Party, not anymore. Not for what they stand for. And it's hypocritical that 65% of the Tea Party, the tea bagging Inc., supports Medicare but wants to gut Medicare at the same time. I just don't understand that. Why would you support a person like Paul Ryan, a degenerate fascist, who is going to destroy your economic future, who is going to wants to destroy economic prosperity for the country? What these people are, Mittens, Paul Ryan, is that they're playing for Wall Street. Wall Street has decided in the this year's Bilderberg meeting, they have decided that Mittens has to be the president of the United States. They are dumping Obama. They're dumping Obama. I don't care for Obama. I think he's the worst president we ever had. But Mittens will be just as bad, if not worse, because Mittens and Paul Ryan, of all people, he has selected Paul Ryan, a person who believes we should cut you off from the head, basically slit your throat. Obama is about killing you softly. I mean, Obama has already tried to cut a lot of these programs like S-chip, like WIC. You might say, well, what do we need these programs for? And to be honest with you, if you're pro-life like I am, you should be supporting these programs. Because I'm not just focused in the womb. Sure, abortion is bad, but you see, I'm not here to say that we should ban abortion. I think women should have that choice, and they should make those choices for themselves. But I believe, though, that life goes on after birth as well. I'm one of those people that it has common sense, that believes that life is precious, right? Just like these other politicos, like what Paul Ryan says, life is precious and we should have dignity for each life, but yet you want to cut people's unemployment, you want to cut people's Medicare, you want to cut everything away for them. And sure, I mean, you can try to succeed in life and try to beat the game, trying to be rich, trying to get all this money. A lot of people have been successful. But believe me, not everybody can be rich in this country. This system that we live in is built on severe competition, severe death and destruction. That means that for others to succeed, 10 other people have to fail miserably. That's the only way that this system that we live in today works. For every one person that succeeds, 10 others have to fail. That's how it is. Not everybody can be Donald Trump. Okay? Why can't conservatives and libertarians understand this? I mean, they're playing their system. They are advocating for their system that basically cuts everybody at the throat except 1 in 10. 1 in 10 people become successful and the others, fuck you. Oh, but you're pro-life, right? You send 9 other people into what is called enslavement poverty. That's what we are about. So, I can try to take this at any angle, and I'm trying to very hard to just try to understand this, but it's pretty simple. They needed a fascist reactionary to satisfy the fascist reactionary base. I'm going to get to the gay perspective after this break, but the thing is that what you have to keep in mind is that the controllers, Wall Street, hedge fund hyenas, foreign bankers, offshore banks, Wall Street, white shoe boys, trillionaires, the controllers of this country and of the global economy, they have decided that in this prison that we live in, all people who do not obey them have to slowly be killed to death. That's what I believe in. And Obama pretty much hasn't been doing it. Obama is really reluctant to kill people's unemployment. It's not that hard to recover from this recession. All you have to do is invest in the country. You put out credit because you can create the credit from the Federal Reserve. All he has to do is make a phone call to the Federal Reserve and say, hey, we need $1 trillion, 0% interest loans to be made to infrastructure and to businesses who are going to employ people and create new products. You have to produce something. But we're not in that era anymore. We're not producing anything. All we're doing is creating debt. And we just do what we're into the service industry, entertainment, consumer, credit, all this stuff. We don't produce anything. Nothing. Not even a good car. So Mittens, all these gay cons are telling me, oh, but Mittens, he's in the private sector, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then he gets as VP, this political fascist hack who wants to kill 50 million people. And you're telling me that this man is in the private sector and he's great in the private sector, but you haven't proven to me at all what this man, Mitt Romney, has ever produced. Has he ever produced a television? A stand mixer? What did he produce? Oh, wait a minute. He's the guy that opened up all these Staples stores. Yeah, so instead of you owning your own stationery store, you get to work at Staples for what's the minimum wage that they're trying to pay now? Oh, for $4.75 an hour. Why don't you? Yeah, that's the new economy. So instead of having your own business, your own little shack store, you're going to work for Walmart for $4.75 an hour. No insurance, no health benefits, no vacation, no nothing. That's the American dream, isn't it? Isn't it? We'll be right back. Alright, now let's try to get the gay perspective on this issue. Paul Ryan, of all people, he picked Paul Ryan, and I've already explained to you in the last segment the economic side of this whole issue, what's going to happen to our economic rights. Not only, to a lot of people. Everybody's going to be affected with this kind of stupidity. Alright, you're going to have 50 million people on food stamps and you want to cut off all their food stamps? Do it. See what happens. Let's see what happens. Yes, there is abuse and we should take care of that. There are ways to take care of abuse and waste and all that. But to blame the whole entire thing is just ridiculous. To blame the entire system is totally... I just don't understand that. Paul Ryan, 30 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, he would have been laughed out of office. This guy comes in and says that we are going to basically destroy Medicare, take away Social Security, we're going to do all this. He would have been laughed out of office. He would have been a laughingstock. He would have been a sideshow, a circus clown, a rodeo clown. This man has no capability of understanding. Well, I mean, he does, and he knows what to do. He has been instructed by the political masters, by, of course, the owners of this country who own the majority of the lands and who own the majority of the wealth of this country. And he has been instructed, just like other useful idiots, like Brian Fisher, to make wedge issues. This person, Paul Ryan, is going to make issues of saying that we need freedom. He doesn't mean we as in the American people. No, he says us, Wall Street, us, the big banks, us, we need freedom. We want to create our own regulations in which we can steal from each other, we can steal from you, we can take away your bank accounts. That's our motto. And we don't believe in regulations. Well, they do. As long as those regulations are to give them more money, give them more bailouts after bailout after bailout, of course that would be a great regulation. But they don't believe in regulations that affect them, you see. The Tea Party, the Tea Baggers all believe that big government means taking away your guns, taking away your Bible, taking away your First Amendment rights, your Second Amendment rights, your Third Amendment rights, whatever rights that you are saying. And also that regulations are bad. Yes, some regulations are bad. I agree with that. I agree there's a lot of this over-regulation that's happening. There's a few things that don't need to be regulated. But there are things that do need to be regulated. There are things that need attention, a special handling. And those are, of course, Wall Street transactions, even Glass-Steagall, in which, of course, that was deregulation. We took away Glass-Steagall, in which we prohibited these insurance companies from mixing up their money with Wall Street. Now, of course, that's what brought down AIG. That's what basically brought us to this point in which it created a big, humongous black hole with derivatives, with credit default swaps, where you have all these things that are accumulating, that are drowning our economy. That's deregulation. But they're blaming on they're blaming it on you. You see, these criminals, these Wall Street criminals, these white-collar criminals, they blame Americans. They don't blame themselves for creating this mess and making more money for the controllers. They don't blame themselves. They blame American people. Oh, you spend too much. You bought houses that you couldn't afford. Excuse me, but we need to live in houses, just to let you know. Oh, are we supposed to live in the streets like a bunch of animals? What kind of society is this? What kind of society you want to build? I don't understand these people. This is not free market. This is not capitalism. This is anarchy. Anarchy has nothing to do with capitalism. And in fact, we never had capitalism, to be honest with you. Never had it. It's just an idea. But people just need to look at history. Look at nations and civilizations that have taken away the social safety net. What happened after that? What happened after that was total breakdown of society, chaos and disorder, and then you had, of course, a dictator that would come in. Now, libertarians don't like dictators. I don't either. So why should we let that happen? Why do I want to encourage that? I don't want to encourage that. I don't. That's why I am still skeptical of the libertarian model. I am. I believe in some of the things that are libertarian, but some things are not based on reality. They're not based on anything. No country has ever adopted the libertarian model. No country except for Austria. Now let me ask you this. How many Austrian astronauts have landed on the moon? How many Austrian Mars rovers have we? And I know this is all kind of, in a way, because there are a lot of things that are behind these events, but still, we have some scientific accomplishments because we as a society, through our government, decided to do things that other countries cannot do because they are so either in debt, they are basically bankrupt, or they don't have the interest, or because, of course, no private sector businessman wants to waste $50 billion to send somebody to the moon. Okay? So show me, because Austria, that's the birthplace of libertarianism. I want to know how many Austrian astronauts have landed on the moon. I want to know how many Austrian rovers they have sent to Mars. I want to know how many Austrian satellites they have. I want to know how many Austrian Olympic gold medalists they have. What's their GDP like? What's their trade deficit? I mean, I want to know all this. I mean, believe me, it's not good. You want to live in the Austrian model? Then move to Austria. Because the Austrian model is basically based on the Holy Roman Empire, where you had everything goes. Basically, they give you a piece of land, and then you had some guns, and then you just sit on your land with a bunch of guns. Well, they didn't have guns back then. Let's just say swords. Oh, I think they did by the time that the Roman Empire was collapsing. But you have swords, you have guns, you have everything, and so, hey, you protected your piece of land, and that's where you stand. And if you cross over to the other person's piece of land, they will kill you, right? It's called, I don't know what it is, but it's libertarianism. Libertarianism to an extreme. You had no electricity, you had no running water, you had no sewage, you had nothing, no streets, no sidewalks, no trees, no nothing. All you had was just a piece of land. It was yours. You can do whatever the hell you want in that land. And you say, well, we could have had gay marriage in those. Nah, it wouldn't happen. Well, that's what the model is, and I don't know if you want to believe that. I don't know if you want to go with that. I don't. But what is, of course, and you know what? Paul Ryan is not even libertarian. What are we talking about this? I know I have received a lot of messages and emails from people telling me, he's libertarian. No, because I was involved in the Libertarian Party years ago, and it's not at all he's not a libertarian at all. He's a fascist. I know many libertarians in the Libertarian Party who will not go for the Paul Ryan model, who will not go for this. Yes, we want smaller government because we want an efficient government. We want a government that will be able to protect our economic rights, to protect our civil liberties. And that's all we want. And of course, to ensure the public safety. How hard is that? And government works when the people are basically a little bit aware of what's going on with the government. If we're just sitting around watching Glee, and best of all, of course, we read the news, right? And worst of all, is of course listening to talk radio like Rush Limbaugh, Alex Jones. Like, if those morons actually tell you what the news is. Alex Jones is the worst of, because he twists he'll give you the real news, I understand that, but then he twists it. He never tells you the exact reasons why some of the things happen. He never tells you that the Vatican, what's happening with that. He doesn't tell you why the Vatican is involved in many of these things. Is he telling you that the Vatican is now for gun grabbing? He's not telling you that, is he? He's not telling you that the Vatican has declared that there are no borders and they want open borders in this country. Now, I'm all for immigration, but you're going to have some control in our borders. You cannot just let any schmo just cross over. You have to know who they are, and you have to know where they come from, if they have any diseases, if they have any drugs, or if they have any weapons. Basic things that any country with a border will do. Every country does that. Even Europe, they do that, right? Canada does that. So why can't we do that? Why can't we control our border? And the Vatican is calling for an open border. All right? That's what they said. Paul Ryan is a huge Vatican operative, and that's what we're seeing today is the mixing of Mormon fascism, Catholic fascism together. That's what you're seeing. And of course, the plus side is that you have Paul Ryan there to cool off all these evangelicals who are having a hard time with Mitten's Mormonism. The thing is that I don't blame them. I don't blame them for having doubts about a Mormon. The thing is, I don't think we should have a Mormon for president, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay? Alright, I'm going to take a piss. So let's take a break because I have to go to the bathroom. I've been holding it in for the last 5 minutes. I've been pissing like shit today. It must have been that drink I had. Alright, let's take a break. I'm going to explain to you why I think we cannot have a Mormon president. And it's all based on Mormon theology. It's all based on what Mormons have thought throughout the years about our country, about American people, and about the Gentiles. Or non-Mormons. Let me just lay it out that way. Alright, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a piss. We'll be right back after a short message. Stay tuned. This is the Jose Soto Show. You're listening to Jose Soto. And the other aspect is that Paul Ryan, he's a complete war hawk, and yet his kids, who are too young to serve in the military, by the way, he has no kids in the military, he's not in the military. Oh, but he's able to declare war. He wants war with Iran. He wants war in Syria. He wants war with Russia. Why can't these reactionaries, these right-wing reactionaries, fascists, why can't they get along with other countries? It's pretty hard, isn't it? I mean, if you look at other fascists like Adolf Hitler and Mussolini, who was a complete fascist. People always use Hitler, to bash other people. I'm just going to say that I think he has been overused because Hitler wasn't a complete fascist. He was a National Socialist. He was a right-wing reactionary, but he wasn't a complete total fascist, like Mussolini, an Italian Catholic who was a complete operative for the Vatican. And of course, Mussolini, he was a complete and utter fascist. So maybe we should start using Mussolini. Stop using Hitler. Hitler it's too easy. It's just he killed a bunch of Jews. I mean, that's all we can say about that. But Mussolini, if you want to talk about fascism and complete control from the Vatican, where you have theocracy, just look nowhere else but Italy and in the 1920s and the 30s, and look at Mussolini, who was to start the father of fascism. So, and in the last segment we were talking about Mormonism, and I just want to make this very simple and brief for a lot of you to understand why we cannot have a Mormon in the White House. Well, first of all, just look at what's going on. Mittens has appointed somebody to the position of heading up the transition team. Okay, he is the guy that got appointed is a former governor of Utah. and a Mormon, obviously. So what we're going to have is Mormons being appointed to various political government positions and cabinet, but most importantly is underneath the cabinet. All these other positions, like the assistant director of so and so, lieutenant director, whatever. But you're going to have all these positions being filled by Mormons. And you're going to have an influx of Mormon theology, of Mormon fascism, Mormon political power. And you say, well, what's wrong with that, Jose? We're in a free country. Well, if you live in a free country, you want to protect that free country, don't you? You want to if the Japanese attack us, just let the Japanese attack us in World War II. Oh yeah, they bombed Pearl Harbor, but hey, it's a free country, right? They can bomb whatever the hell they want. No, we can't have that. We have to have an order society in order to be free. If you like freedom, then protect it. Because these people don't believe in freedom. Mormons believe that the Gentiles, or the non-Mormons, are completely, utterly wrong and are traitors. Let me tell you why. The story of Joseph Smith is a very interesting one. You can look at it many different ways. I don't really care about what he did with the golden plates. He talked to an angel. I don't know, some people say he talked to an ET. Fine. I don't give a crap about that. Because that's basically religious stuff. I'm not bashing Mormonism because of its religious beliefs or its magic underwear. I don't care. But I do care about is their strive for theocracy, fascism, and political power in this country. And if you look back in their history, they've been always trying to get power. And when they moved to the Rocky Mountains, up to Utah and Salt Lake City, they took over that whole area. They took over basically the West. And when you had to move over to California, or you were moving towards Oregon or Washington State, up in the Washington Territory, or Idaho, anywhere, you had to go through the Mormons. The Mormons were basically the thugs of, I should call them the Blood and the Crips, but which one could it be? I think they were the Bloods, right? And you had, I don't know who the Crips, probably the federal government, because the Mormons were always in fights with America, with this country, the USA. When their leader, because of course they were prosecuted because of what their beliefs were, but not only that, because of the whole polygamy thing, they were prosecuted for various acts of violence that their founder was engaged in. And Mormon founder Joseph Smith, he was killed by a mob. I think it was in Ohio, if I recall. I don't remember where he was. I don't remember where he was killed, but he was killed. Both him and his brother were killed. So after his death, Brigham Young instituted this policy, and part of their liturgy, part of their rites, rites, was about vengeance on the American government, vengeance upon the United States of America. And this is what they believed until at least the 1960s, was to have vengeance on the American people for the deaths of Joseph Smith and his brother. That is what they believed in. Now, the rank and file Mormons, some of them today may not know this or remember this, but this was a belief system that they had. They had this nemesis type, antagonistic type of attitude towards America, towards the government, towards basically the Gentile, the non-Mormons. Okay? That's what you have there. Now, the other thing is that you have is, of course, their worship of power. You have many powerful Mormons. You have basically the Marriott hotel chain, yeah, owned by Marriott, a very huge, big Mormon, and you have Mormons sticking their noses in everything. You have them donating money to campaigns. Proposition 8 was a good example of that, but you have to look more. They're everywhere. They're all the place, but yet they make up just like what, 1% of the population? Gay people. There are more gay people in America than there are Mormons, by the way, and yet Mormons have wielded all this power. They have all these judges and these federal courts during the Bush years. You had Mormons everywhere. And it's not that I want to bash them, it's just that their theology is not something that I'm really proud of. It's anti-American, because to say that you have to, have vengeance, bloody vengeance against America because of Joseph Smith's death, that in itself should be something of a concern to anybody who basically is worried about our country. And you might say, well, Jose, he's a Mormon, so what? I mean, his religious beliefs, he's entitled to those beliefs. Yeah, here's the thing, though, that if you want to become a citizen of the United States, if you're a non-citizen and you want to become a citizen, when you're sworn into citizenship, they ask you, are you a member of the Communist Party, number one? Number two, are you a member of any antagonistic, anti-American political party or an organization that wants to disrupt the government, obstruct the government, create chaos, or go against the American government and the American people? And of course, the Mormons were against the American government. They were against the American people. They thought that America was evil. They always thought about that, because they had this vendetta against the American people because of what happened to Joseph Smith. You don't believe me? Okay, research it. Just punch in on Google Mormon vengeance Joseph Smith on America, something like that, and you'll find it. I mean, there's tons of information about this. I knew about this for a while back when I had a Mormon bishop visit me a while ago, and he told me about this. So I asked. He said, yes, we still believe in some of it, but not all of it. The other thing, of course, is the polygamy. And what's fascinating about the polygamy is that you have Mormons now who were persecuted for their religious beliefs on marriage, and yet they're involved in Proposition 8, they're involved in all this shenanigans. And of course, you have Mitt Romney, who's a huge supporter of traditional marriage between one man and one woman. That's not traditional. Traditional marriage has always been polygamy, rape, and all that. If you look at the history of Western civilization, you'll find that most marriages have been in history polygamous. Not the majority of them, but most, like the huge number of them, have been polygamous. Others, through slavery, you go on and on and on down there. And then somewhere in the middle, you'll find one man, one woman, what we see today. Why we reject it, as any society has rejected polygamy, is because we tried it, it doesn't work. And we have gay marriage, right? And we are seeing that happening. It's been happening for a long time already. And it's due time now that gay couples get their economic rights. But that's not how Mormons view it. Mormons view this as a combination of civil law and God's law. You combine all of that together. You have theocracy. They don't believe in what liberals call separation of church and state. What I call leave Caesar's law to Caesar and what's God's law to God. That's how any Christian knows this. But Christians who are so fanatic, who are so antagonistic, antisocial, anti-American, they want to mix both. They don't want a line between church and state. What they want is a church state to replace the Constitution with the Bible. Now imagine if a Muslim cleric came out and said, I want to, instead of the Constitution, we should have the Quran. You're going to have Brian Fisher, you're going to have Pat Robertson going up berserk. And then obviously, right, yes, of course, we cannot just replace this document, the Constitution, it's not a perfect Constitution. Let me just tell you that. It's not perfect. It hasn't cleared up some of these questions that we have. Like, do states have a right to secede from the Union? That's not in the Constitution. That's still kind of an open question if you look at the Constitution. It's not perfect, but it is the best that we have. So why do you want to replace it with something that we already tested for 2,000-3,000 years, like the Bible, the Torah, the Quran? You know, all these things have been tested already. Look at history. We've already seen theocracy. We had the Dark Ages already, with the Holy Roman Empire being the Vatican was basically controlling Europe. Rome controlled Europe for 800 years. And then Europe controlled the world. Basically, the Pope, the Vatican, controlled the world. We had theocracy for 800 years. Did it work? Because if it did work, where is it? I want to know where it is. It didn't work because theocracy meant direct and utter bloody monarchy. And that's what we are witnessing today. Because what they're talking about, just like what Paul Ryan said today, that you get your rights from God. Okay, well, who's going to interpret that? Who's going to speak for God? Because God has to speak if we want to know what rights we have and what we don't. Obviously, you have to have the vicar of God. The Pope is the vicar of God. It has nothing to do with God. Just open your eyes to this. How can we humans know the mind of God? I don't know. But somehow there's this man with this white dress and a stick and a big fish hat that he wears. He calls himself the Pope, the Holy See, the Vicar of Christ, and he says that he represents God. So what we're saying is, this is what theocracy is. He doesn't say that our laws come from our Creator. That would be different. A Creator is the whole different story. A Creator is somebody that creates. That's it. A God is somebody that governs. And who governs us is some invisible entity that can only speak through the Pope. That is what Paul Ryan was saying in that quote that he said yesterday. Believe it or not. And Mormonism is the same thing. The president of the Mormon church and the elders, they all speak to God. They know what God knows. They know what God wants. And they're not just pleased with just having First Amendment rights and freedom of religion. They don't want that. They want theocracy. And that's why you have all these reactionary Catholics joining forces with these Mormons. What's going on with that? I thought Christians didn't like Mormonism. If you look at the Catholic Church, at least with the Catholic Church, you had some history with the Catholic Church. Mormon Church is pretty much new. It hasn't been here for quite a long time compared to the Catholic Church, compared to Islam, compared to Hinduism, Buddhism. Mormonism is relatively new. And you had these people that are saying that we have to have vengeance upon the American people, vengeance upon the American government. And now they're putting a president. They're trying to put a president of the United States in. And let's not forget about the racist theology that they had. Remember that? Up into the 1970s, not the Catholic Church, the Mormon Church, Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ. That's why they don't call themselves followers of Jesus. No, they're the Latter-day Saints. There's a whole different meaning to that. They thought that blacks didn't have souls. Blacks were less than human. And they had that theology up to the 1970s. And Mitt Romney, who is, Mr. Open-mindedness, all this stuff, which is all bullshit, by the way. But he says, he was there when he was a Mormon when I think he was in his early teens, late teens, early 20s, around there. He was a grown man. He should have known that was racist. Why didn't he say anything? Did he write articles condemning this? Condemning the racist policies of the Mormon Church? No. The Mormons they hate blacks. And of course they have these ads now. Oh my God, these Mormon ads. Why do you need Mormon ads? Why do the Mormons need ads? Look, I came from a cult as well. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. Why do you need ads? If you have the truth speaks for itself. You don't need to buy Google ads and all these ads on YouTube to promote your shitty religion. Come on. What's up with that? And then they have blacks in there, they have Latinos in there, which I think there's only a few of them. Because when I seen Mormons, they're all white. All of them are white. And yet now they have this black guy who is a Mormon now, and he's in the ad, right? He's on these video ads. Oh my God! But that doesn't erase history, and it doesn't erase the fact that is still pretty much recent. I mean, it is recent. It's the 1970s, for crying out loud. Why doesn't Mins answer these questions? Yeah, it's valid. And people say we shouldn't question his Mormonism. Well, we should, because Mormons, the Mormon church has done things in the past, said things in the past. And of course, we have to go with the whole marriage thing, because his grandfather went to Mexico to get married in a polygamous marriage with other women. And I don't really care. Fine, if you want to do that, fine, do it. But why are you, Mitt Romney, with that kind of history, coming from a religion, not even a religion, I don't believe this is a religion. This is a political movement, a political theocratic movement. Why are you involved in that kind of movement that promoted slavery, racism, promoted polygamy, and then turn around and say, oh, those are bad? When in fact that was hardcore what your founder, Joseph Smith, believed in. That's what Brigham Young believed in. Why are you now disowning all that? I mean, was your Brigham Young, was your Joseph Smith wrong? Were they wrong on these issues? Were they wrong on polygamy? Tell us, wise one. Mitt Romney, who knows all about marriage and traditions and Christian values and American values. Yeah. Oh, and Paul Ryan is going to fix it all up for us, right? Right-wing reactionary. A puppet. That's what he is. We'll be right back after this short break. Now, people might say, Jose, you're being harsh. I'm being harsh. What about Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ? Isn't polygamy a little bit harsh? Yes. Isn't racism a little bit harsh? Oh yeah, I bet it is. Isn't calling vengeance upon America a little bit harsh? But yet, because I point these out, I'm being harsh. Well, Jose, Mittens, poor Mittens, it's not his fault. Okay, then when did he spoke up? Because here's the thing. The cult that I was involved in, Jehovah's Witnesses, they believe in all this similar crap. And I left. I turned 17, 18, I was already gone. I was like, stop this. It's over. No more of this stupid shit. I left. Because I knew, why would I want to be there trying to change this? I can't change this. It's a cult. Do I believe Mormonism is a cult? I do believe it is a cult to an extent. Yes, it is. If you have a tight religion like that, any religion can become a cult really easily. Anything can become a religion and then a cult. I mean, it's just... that's how it is. Now, let's take the gay perspective on this. And I know a lot of gay people are saying, oh, Paul Ryan is bad. Yeah, of course. He doesn't want economic rights for gay couples. That's one thing. Then he doesn't want gay people to be getting, children, and adopting kids. You don't want that, right? You don't want kids to be provided with a nice home. You don't want that. But what really bothered me a little bit was that he voted for, of course, the Federal Marriage Amendment, which is to it bans gay marriage. Amending the Constitution is a serious, serious act. It's serious business. Because that will be constitutional law, And depending on who's in the Supreme Court or any of the circuit courts, you're going to have judges interpreting that amendment many different ways. Just like we interpret the 14th Amendment in many ways, just like how we interpret the Second Amendment in many ways, the First Amendment, you name it. Unless that amendment is written specifically for certain actions, that is to get a marriage license, no, it's not going to say that. It's going to say marriage is defined this way. That means that dictionaries that have any other definition are breaking the law constitutionally. And you might say, Jose, but you have freedom of speech. No. President has already stated the laws of this country, constitutional laws, and Supreme Court precedent, that amendments that contradict previous amendments or clauses of the Constitution are more valid than the previous clauses or the amendments. That means that this new amendment that they want to establish, or that they want to add to the Constitution, this marriage amendment, erases everything else before. That means that the feds can come in and raid gay weddings. They can. But I have First Amendment rights. No. I think we have 27 amendments. I don't remember it. I think we have 27 amendments. Let's say this is the 28th Amendment, the Constitution. The latest amendment will always update the previous ones. So that means that the freedom of speech or freedom of expression in the First Amendment is now obstructed by this one amendment that's new. That's how the Supreme Court has interpreted these questions of, do new amendments sort of obstruct previous amendments? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. It has been done before. It has been done before. So, yes, if you have a gay wedding, you're going to have the feds, under a right-wing reactionary government, you're going to have the feds come in, the FBI, you're going to have special forces. I don't know, maybe they have, because somebody has to enforce the Constitution. You have to enforce the law. So you're going to have special units from the FBI investigating gay people to make sure that they're not violating the Constitution. Making sure that they don't have gay weddings. Making sure that they're not engaging in married-like activities. And you might say, but I have a right to a wedding. I have a right to freedom of speech. No, you don't. Because the new amendment overtakes the First Amendment. It does. Of the Constitution. You get that? I don't know how I can explain this better, but I hope I did. And it's serious business. Because if we add a federal marriage amendment, you're just going to see total Orwellian fascist tactics being played against gay people in this country. You will see everything. You thought, okay, Jose is lying. He's bullshitting. I'm bullshitting? Yeah. No, I'm warning you. This man, Paul Ryan, supports this kind of amendment in which gay people's freedom of speech, expression, association is going to be all obstructed, torn to pieces by this amendment, because this amendment will be interpreted that way, and it will be. Let's do this. Let's say that Paul Ryan gets what he wants. Let's say we have a marriage amendment. Let's say we have 2, 3, 4 Scalias now in the Supreme Court. Justice Breyer's gone. Justice Ginsburg is gone. And you have these whack jobs in there, and they say, yes, this 27th Amendment, 28th Amendment, whatever it is, yes, this marriage amendment says that only a man and woman can partake in marriage-like activities. States have a right now to raid, and they are obligated to raid. The federal government is now obligated to raid gay weddings, to raid houses where there are gay couples pretending to be married, because you're violating the Constitution if you do that. Because only a man and woman are allowed to do that. Only heterosexuals are. Alright? You get that? That's how it's going to be interpreted. Now, go further than that. The Constitution now allows for this type of discrimination. So, why not just go further than that? Why not say, well, let's have a law that says that you gay people are not entitled to have, houses, to buy houses. We don't want gay couples to be buying houses because that violates the Constitution. That can happen. When you write words into the Constitution, those words will be taken for something else. Always, always, always. If we brought back the Founding Fathers, they would know. The framers of the Constitution will be kind of dismayed of what's going on, of why there's so many interpretations of law this way, because they never intended to have this. But that's what I mean. This is the big one. I think this is to me a major issue. Now you have the log cabin Republicans. I used to have a lot of good esteem about them because I thought, they always challenged the status quo of the Republican Party. Now we know they're not challenging anything. They're becoming part of it. Basically, they are political hacks. That's what they are. Just like the gay Democrats who are political hacks who defended Obama when he was against gay marriage, who have defended anti-gay Democrats, who basically make up excuses for Democrats not enacting ENDA when they had the opportunity and repealing the Defense of Marriage Act when they had the opportunity to do so. They didn't do that. Gay Democrats made excuses. Now gay Democrats have the upper hand by attacking the reactionaries in Congress. And of course you have the reactionaries of the gay conservative wing. Log cabin Republicans support this decision, obviously, because they say that he supported Employment Non-Discrimination Act. But how can you support the Employment Non-Discrimination Act and support amending the Constitution to allow federal judges to discriminate against gay people in many heinous ways? Explain that to me, Shakespeare. I want to know. How can you support somebody like that? I don't know. Now, first I heard that it was going to be General Petraeus. That was the bullshit story from the Drudge Report. General Petraeus, who supports repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And through the pipeline, I heard that he is sort of okay with civil unions, gay marriage. General Petraeus would have been a better choice, I think. If General Petraeus was selected as VP and log cabin Republicans come out and support it, there would be a problem. I don't think it would have been that much of a problem. But Paul Ryan, it's like, why don't you just go ahead and support Santorum? Why don't you? It's the same person, almost. Now, let's look at this Employment Non-Discrimination Act defense that the log cabin Republicans are touting. They're saying that he supports the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, and we should be glad. Oh, really? What happened to that piece of legislation? It went down the tubes. Didn't happen, thanks to the Democrats. I'm blaming the Democrats on this. People saying that, oh, you must be a liberal. I'm not. You don't know who the hell I am. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Nobody knows who I am except me. And I don't need to explain myself what my politics is and anything. I'm here to just attack the things that I don't like. The things that bother me. Just based on that, you can make up your own image about me, who the fuck I am. But don't try to sit there and assume, oh, he must be some stupid liberal, blah, blah, blah. Because when I attacked Obama many times, people are calling me a right-winger, calling me all this. Get out of that right versus left paradigm. Get out of that. I'm an independent. That's all you need to know. Do I support Democrats? I only did a couple times. Actually, once I did. Do I support Republicans? I once did. A friend of mine, he wanted my support. He ran for office. He was pro-gay, and I went with it. Fine. I helped him out. He was my friend. I did it because I knew the guy. But everyone else, I'm not really there with. I'm not. Until I investigate who the person is before I vote, then maybe I'll vote for you. Maybe. And usually I don't vote for the incumbent. I just vote him out. That's what I like to do when I go vote. I vote out the incumbents. Why do you want to vote for that same guy again? Why do you want to do that? People don't... I mean, I've seen people just vote for the same thing. Yeah, just keep the guy in. I think he's doing a good job. What do you mean he's doing... How do you know that? Log Cabin. Come out and support. GoPro did it. Who? What a big surprise. GoPro wishes they can suck Mitten's cock. I mean, that's what they want. I mean, in reality, I think that's what they want. They want to go down on Mitt Romney. They want to suck his big Mormon cock. That's what they want to do. And that's fine. Just admit it. Just say, Jose, we believe that conservative values are more important than personal liberty, individual freedom, economic security. You know, that's more important than all these things. Just say that. Just say that your ideology is what drives you. Not common sense, not rational solutions, not any of that. Okay? You're ideologues, you're fanatics, you're not based on reality, you're based on ideology. Your blood runs with ideology. Your heart pumps ideology, and that's what you believe in, that's what you live, that's what you breathe in and out every day, 24/7. None of this shit about solutions. Don't fuck with me with solutions. That's not what we believe in. We're fanatics. Now, the National Organization for Marriage came out and also supported Paul Ryan. Oh, at the same day that Go Proud. Okay, I give it a Go Proud. I don't care about Go Proud. But the Log Cabin Republicans, who were supposed to change the status quo, supports Paul Ryan, and the National Organization for Marriage comes out and does the same thing. We support Paul Ryan because he's a traditionalist, aka a Nazi. No, I don't want to say that. That's not what I know. He's not a Nazi. That just slipped out. He is a fascist, a Mussolini, little Mussolini, with little mittens. All right. Now, there are many reports out there, reactions from people. You had this gay Republican in Massachusetts who was running for Congress, Robert something, I forgot his name, Robert Tisai. Is that it? His name? Is that how you pronounce it? I don't really care. I don't give a shit. I don't live in Massachusetts. But you have this guy trying to distance himself from Paul Ryan. Well, yeah, you fucking live in a liberal state. Hello, wake up, smell the coffee. Then you have Human Rights Campaign saying that Paul Ryan ticket is out of touch with Americans on LGBT equality. Really? Wait a minute. This is the Human Rights Campaign? Yeah, it is. Well, the Human Rights Campaign has always been out of touch with LGBT people. Hopefully Chad Griffin will turn that around. I don't know. I mean, I'm going 50-50 on that. But hopefully he does succeed in turning that organization around a little bit. But the Human Rights Campaign, to say that somebody's out of touch, I don't think that's a correct thing to say. I think they should have said, we don't believe in this. This is wrong for America, for LGBT equality, and just leave it at that. Why do you have to say they're out of touch? That is weird coming from an organization that's always been out of touch with gay people for the last 20 years. Come on now. Anyway. Chris Geithner, he says that gay conservatives are more excited for Ryan than Romney. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, why? Well, maybe because of Mormonism, and I don't blame them. I don't blame conservatives for being really, not there with Romney because of the whole Mormon thing. I'm just not going to vote for this ticket at all. I'm going to skip it. Hate Group Family Research Council also very pleased with the pick. Family Research Council. Family Research Council agrees with Log Cabin Republicans. Log Cabin Republicans agree with Family Research Council. Is there something in the water? Is there something wrong here? Of course there is. We Log Cabin Republicans are about changing the status quo, and look what they're doing. They're joining the status quo. Paul Ryan voted to ban gay marriage. We talked about that for the Federal Marriage Amendment Act. And he's against a gay adoption, and he's against gays in the military. Tell me, how does that work? That you are for the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, but you don't want to employ gay people in the military. That's just... Now what does he believe in? And that's going to be interesting to know what this fascist mini Mussolini thinks about gays in the military now. Is it working? Because I don't really see any problems. There was only one incident, and it was in a submarine. One incident. Out of thousands of openly gay people in the military, one incident. Oh my God. Hold the presses. Why do these gay Republicans have to do this? I don't know. They should have just shut up. They should have just, let everything go out there and, let it all played out. And just say, we're going to wait to see what Mr. Ryan has to say. We're going to talk to him. We're going to see what things are and where he is on these issues. And then make a statement. But to base their whole support on a statement, one little bitty statement that Paul Ryan said, it's totally ridiculous. And yet, these Log Cabin Republicans were the same ones that were criticizing all those gay liberals that supported Obama because Obama is for civil unions, not gay marriage, right? They criticized that, and I supported that criticism because, yes, Obama was wrong. He should have just gone for gay marriage just like he did in 1996. But now they're doing the same thing that the gay liberals did, supporting somebody that is not fully there with gay rights. What's up with that? Yes, what it is hypocrisy, and what it is fanaticism. Fanaticism will always breed hypocrisy everywhere you go. Everywhere you see it, that's what we have. Alright? And let me take on this comment when we come back about this whole nature, rights come from God bullshit. I'm going to talk about that for a little bit. But first, let's take this break. And I don't know why I'm pissing like a skunk, but I have to go back in the bathroom. Probably I drank too much of that stuff. So anyway, let's take a small break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. This is the Jose Soto Show. You're listening to Intellectual Nudity. I am Jose Soto. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Now let's take a look at this stupid quote. This meaningless, well, it's not meaningless, but it's very cliche, and I know that a lot of conservatives and paleo-libertarians, paleo-conservatives, they say this a lot. But it doesn't really mean anything in the end, if you really look at this, and it's just a really weird defense mechanism to basically savor any type of responsibility for the welfare and the well-being of the nation. You say, instead of the nation protecting its citizens and their rights, what you have is somebody that says, don't look at me, don't look at us, look at God. Seek God for advice. And I want to ask God, why did He make me the way I am? I want to know many things. But the thing is that I have to have a level playing field with God, because that's what people like Paul Ryan do. If you're going to humanize God into our level, then that means that we have to have a level playing field with God. We have to be equal to God if you're going to put Him down to our level. But this is just a cheap cop-out in a way. But it has this intention, though. Its intention is to impose this fascist theocracy. Well, that's what it is. And theocrats, why they want to do this? Because it's in their blood. I don't know. It's part of their system that they want to have some sort of fascism system where they can control everybody with guilt, and not only that, but with hell and hellfire. You know, to say, if you don't do what we say, God's gonna punish you in the afterlife. But we are going to not only do that, but we're going to have laws based on what we think God wants. Yeah, we do the laws, but if you're going to come complaining to us, don't come complaining to us. It's God's law. What is the term for God's law? It's a word called FAS. F-A-S. Look it up. F-A-S, the word FAS. That is the term for God's law. Fas is where we get the fasci. The fasci is a bundle of sticks with a hatchet. And that just means that there's a coalition of sticks united. And you see this in many of our emblems and many of these symbols that we use for the dollar, and it's also in the floor of the House of Representatives. You can see it right behind the dais. You see these two fasci with, these bundle sticks wrapped around with a hatchet head. And the reason why is that the hatchet is better sustained with a coalition of forces united together to basically break the will of the people, to cut your head off. The hatchet was always used to cut people's heads off. That's what the fascists used to cut off people's heads when they didn't comply to the Pope's will. The Vatican always had the death penalty. I don't know why they're against it. The Vatican has always had the death penalty. They were the ones that were not. It wasn't just the Spanish Inquisition. It was everywhere that the Vatican, wherever the Vatican had power over the people, they would enact tremendous fascism. And that's where we get the word fascism. It's from the fasci. The fasci is the hatchet to cut off your head, and of course, fasci comes with the word fas, which means the law of God. The law of God is the hatchet. The law of God is mighty, and it's one, and it's me. Okay? It's not God. It's not the creator of the universe. Well, forget that. Who wants to know the creator of the universe? Paul Ryan, and this is an article from The Advocate, Paul Ryan says that rights come from nature and God, not government. Oh, really? Well, here's what I say, Mr. Ryan, Mr. Mussolini Jr. Here's what I say. If it's true that our rights come from nature and from God, let's just say God, because these people worship Mother Nature. And they believe that Mother Nature is God. That's why they say nature and God, because they're the same thing. Mother Nature is God to them. They worship Mother Nature. This is a pagan worship that many Catholics engage in. Not only Catholics, but you have Mormons do it. It's a mixture of Scottish Freemasonry. Masons were heavily influencing the Vatican many times, but also where the Masons picked it up was from, it goes all the way back to the Knights Templar, it goes back to the Vatican again, and it goes all the way down to Babylon, to ancient Babylon, and you have Samaria, where they worship reproduction, they worship the penis, they worship the vagina, they worship heterosexual sex and reproduction, because that's where everything comes from. You know, when we had stories when the rain came down, people would say, "Oh, that's God's semen." That's where I get the word "sea." It's the seed, the holy sea, because the semen is coming down to fertilize the earth. It's God's semen, and when you go out, right? These people worship the rain. They call it semen. Go out, and you see, after the rain, you'll see all these new flowers flourishing and the trees getting greener. And obviously, they say, well, God must have fertilized the land. This is all reproduction worship. That's why you have all these obelisks. The obelisk represents the penis. It's the phallus. And you have ovals. That's why the penis at the Vatican, which is this obelisk that they have in front of St. Peter's Basilica, it's right there in the middle of the Vatican, the obelisk, and you have an oval around it. It represents the vagina. In Washington, you have the same thing, Washington, D.C., which is all Masonic emblems and rituals and symbols. And you had a Masonic emblem that's part Masonic, part Vatican, and you have an obelisk called the Washington Monument that is pointing in front of this strip of mall with water in it. That's the vagina. That's where you come in when you're a baby. You come through the vagina, through the uterus. Well, you're in the uterus, but you come through the vagina. You come through the water, through the canal. You come through the water. Yeah. My water broke. That's where we get the term from. Then, where is that pointing at? It's pointing towards the White House, towards the Oval Office. The White House is the uterus. And you have two sides. You have the right side, the left side, which is the east wing, the west wing, the two ovaries. Get it? You get it. Just do your research, do your homework, and you'll find out. These things are set for a reason, because the people who set up our government, the people who set up the control system, are all about worshiping pagan rituals, pagan worship of reproduction. And you have religious sects in ancient Babylon who worship all this stuff. That's where we get this whole thing that homosexuality goes against reproduction, it's against nature. Yeah, because that's where homophobia or anti-gay sentiment comes from, is from all this worshiping of the reproduction of the penis and the vagina. And history, I don't remember any homosexual sects. I don't remember any of that. But a lot of heterosexual ones, a lot. So that's where this whole nature and God comes from. But let me say this. If our rights come from nature and God, Mr. Ryan, then why, and not the government, but why then does the government under your direction want to ban those rights? That's what I don't get. And if the log cabin Republicans would be so nice to answer that question for me, I would definitely want to know an answer. Yes, I would like to know if rights come from nature and God, but not the government, then why do you want the government to ban those rights if they don't come from the government? That doesn't make any sense at all. Airhead? Well, it's not an airhead. He knows what he's saying. He tries to get people all worked up over this, right? They want to know that your Medicare is not coming from the government. Your Social Security is not coming from the government. Unemployment, all these social safety nets that we have to keep society working, to not collapse on itself, that doesn't come from the government anymore. It's going to come from God. Yeah, God, nature. What does God and nature, let's just say nature itself, what does it provide? You want to be like animals out there? Living like animals? No. Since humans have come into existence on the faceless planet for whatever means and for whatever reason we are here, we have never acted like animals. Never. We've hunted, we gathered, but we always had homes. We built huts. We lived in caves. We've always had that need to be something other than that animal, than the animal kingdom, all these other species. We were different, and we are different. We are special. I do believe in that. But what do we want to then go down there? Why do we want to be part of nature where we are basically unnatural? We are. If you believe in intelligent design, or if you believe God created man in 7 days, which is creationism, if you believe that, that's supernatural. It cannot happen. So you cannot say that rights come from nature, human rights come from nature, when humans are not natural on this planet. That's the whole philosophical debate I think we should be having. If you believe that God created humans as special, I do believe that there is some creation in there. I do believe that. I don't know if it was a God or anything. I don't know about that. But I do believe we're specially created. That means we're supernatural. We're not part of this environment. You should look at it that way. I mean, we're hairless. We're hairless beings. We have no hair, almost. Except if you're a bear, or if you're a bear, then maybe, yeah. But not enough hair, though. Not enough fur. You need a lot of fur to cover yourself if you're out there in nature. So what's in nature, then? What does nature give me as rights? So do I have a right over there to hunt? And, I mean, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything at the surface, but there's, a deep intention about this. There's a motive behind this saying. The motive is, don't ask us for a handout. And you might say, well, that's a good thing, Jose. We don't want fucking lazy assholes to take those government checks. All right. See what happens when we cut off that social net, that social safety net. Yet you want to cut it off, but yet you don't have a solution to how we can end this recession and get people back to work. How do we get people back to work? Yet you don't want to provide that solution. You don't. And you know what the solution is. You're going to have to lend out money on credit, 0% interest to people who are going to hire. That's what you need to do. Hello? Is anybody in there? Hello, McFly? I love that. I love that reference to Back to the Future. Anyway, so this whole thing is stupid. It's stupid. There's an intention behind this, but it's totally flawed. There's this saying, rights come from nature and God, but not the government. Paul Ryan made his first public appearance after being announced as Mitten's running mate Saturday morning and received the loudest applause of his debut speech when he said, Our rights come from nature and God, not from government. Okay, so like I said, somebody better answer my question. I am challenging Clark Cooper, Chris Barrett. No, Chris Barrett doesn't support mittens. How about Jimmy LaSalvia? How about any gay con out there? Challenge me. Well, I challenge you about this. If rights come from nature and God, and not the government, why does the right wing, your people, support the government banning those rights when they don't even come from the government in the first place? It's all bullshit. That's what it is. Well, that's the end of our show. Thank you very much for listening. Tune in next time. I'm Jose Soto. Good night.